What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Carolina Sports Update here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Neil Curtis. Once again, we got a great show for you today. We talk a little bit more off-season Panthers, but we are back in full swing for hockey, NBA, and MLS is back. So we will be checking out some updates for the Charlotte FC. Always looking at ACC, SEC basketball in the Carolinas, talking a little bracketology and diving into a little bit of baseball as well. So stick around. We've got a great show coming up, and we will get into all that is Carolina sports right after a few words from some sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Be sure to check out those sponsors. I talked about it before. I really appreciate that. Vital Apparels, activewear, putting in a lot of time and money, effort into raising mental health awareness, and using, working out, keeping in shape as a way to help keep your mental health strong as well. So. Good sponsorships coming. I think I talked before about Raw Nutrition as well. Got a buddy who uses it, likes it a lot. So be sure to check out those sponsors. Some great sponsors coming online. All right. So let's first a little bit of an update. If you noticed, ever noticed in the past, usually my broadcasts have the fake background behind me. It's just me floating around in the middle of my caption, but no more. I've shifted rooms now, and I've actually got a real blank back wall. To be perfectly honest, my last potting location was actually in my walk-in closet. Yeah. So when you're doing an audio-only podcast, not a big deal. But if you're doing a video podcast, you're not exactly wanting to show off your clothes hanging up behind you or anything like that. So we've done a little bit of rearranging here at the house, and now I'm in the room, front office of the house, and I've got actual blank wall. So hopefully we'll be getting that decorated soon. I'm thinking about putting up a couple shelves behind me, and maybe rotating some stuff out, bringing in different sports memorabilia that I pick up. Obviously stuff for the Carolinas, but if you guys have any suggestions, any ideas on what I could throw up behind me here, then I will be sure to get that stuff up, try to track some stuff down, and start rotating that through. I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting, a little bit more interesting scenery here in the old podcast office. All right. So let's talk. Hopefully, we'll get too deep into some Panther stuff. But I did want to go over a few things here. Off-season moves are starting to pick up, like I mentioned before last week. I think we talked about kind of the schedule for the next couple months here, looking at free agency, how that's going to start shaping up here soon. Signing, making offers to restricted free agents, unrestricted free agents, when the legal tampering period opens up. And Carolina's already been at work signing a couple of, I think, pretty easy free agent signings, re-signing quarterback Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback to Bryce Young. He and Bryce Young have a really good bond going on. 2 seasons now working together. I think, I've seen a lot of people complain about, Bryce is really that good and he doesn't need a mentor. Let's go get somebody else who's not just a mentor to him. But I think there's also just kind of bond that I won't call it just straight up mentorship, but just a good connection there between the two of them. I think keeping them together, somebody that Andy or that Bryce can go to and talk to, that he's comfortable with. I think that really helps out. It's for 2 more years. Dalton looks like now probably almost certainly going to retire a Panther, maybe, unless they do, something where he could go back to Cincinnati for retirement. But likely going to be finishing off his career realistically here in the Carolinas, which I'm fine by. I think he's he's been a very good player and really very good just human being, really. So glad to have him coming back. And same thing for long snapper J.J. Jansen, longest tenured, I think, probably player in the NFL at this point, but definitely for the Panthers. So good to see him coming back. Some pretty easy signings there. Both guys playing well for the team. We also saw them release cornerback Dane Jackson, starting to free up some cap space. That gives the Panthers a little bit of room, extra room, $3.35 million now in cap space. That goes along with an estimated, I think, $30 million at this point, I think is what I saw coming from David Newton on ESPN. So there's a little bit extra there. And then just saw today, I didn't even completely forgot to get in the ticker there. I just saw today where the Panthers will be parting ways with Chuck Thompson. Been a fantastic player for the Panthers. But, with the last 2 seasons, the injuries that have started to kind of pile up with him, the limited play that we've been getting, that the team's been getting from him, it kind of seemed like that would be the case. There is Carolina would be moving on from Shaq. So sad to see him go for sure, but understanding the business decision of it, it makes sense for the Panthers to move on and look for a little bit more consistency, probably at a little bit better of a value too. So seeing the Panthers move on from there. A few dates to talk about here. NFL Combine does kick off this week, so it should be an exciting weekend coming up, starting on Thursday, 27th of February through Sunday, the 2nd of March. Notable days, I think, for Panthers fans will be the first day, Thursday, where defensive line prospects and linebacker, now even more important than ever, will be going through their drills. And then the next day, Friday, defensive backs and tight ends, who maybe not as high a priority as a couple other positions, are still going to be a priority, and so going to get a lot of attention, I think, in this draft. We'll be going through their drills on Friday. Saturday, we'll have the running backs and wide receivers, also the quarterbacks, but I don't expect the quarterbacks to be much, if at all, a focus for the team or staff. But running backs, wide receivers, I think will be a very big focus. Wide receivers for sure, but probably looking at some running back support as well, especially one of those late round running backs who can come in, see what they can do for a season while we wait on Jonathan Brooks to get healthy again and work his way back into rotation, because honestly, it is probably going to be quite some time before we see him hit the field. So I expect to see like a late mid, like 5th, 6th round pick there in the for a running back. Outside of that, a couple of players that I would think would be worth looking out for. Keep that up. Huh? Go back. All right. A couple of players I think worth looking out for to see how they perform. Look at their measurables, numbers on the offensive side, like I said, wide receiver. Luther Burden III, Matthew Golden, Ted McMillan, though, we've talked about this before, he may be gone by the time Carolina is picking at number 8. Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. I am very high on Ibuka. I think as far as wide receivers expected to go in the late 1st round, early 2nd round, he is not getting a lot of talk right now, which is interesting to me. But the guy has done nothing but been a solid, well above average. I wouldn't say great, but a solid, well above average contributor at Ohio State, with the likes of Jeremiah Smith, Marvin Harrison Jr. Playing opposite him during his time there, and he still gets his production in. He still serves a role there, and has still played very well. Almost to me feels like a role of like a T. Higgins type of player. So we'll see. Like I said, for me, I think he would be a great pickup, especially in a trade back scenario in the first round. But we'll be interested to see how well he performs there. Isaiah Bond, another wide receiver, and Jack Besh, also maybe second and third round type of wide receivers there to keep an eye to see how their measurables come out. I mentioned running back. I think Travion Henderson. I'll bet there's some recency bias of seeing him through the national championship, but in my defense, like playing against the best competition in football and playing at the highest, most difficult stage, the guy excelled, and he is an absolute burner. I think he could break stuff open with little to no notice, and is tremendous back. It could probably be grabbed late in the second round. Although a lot of people are saying he may even get up, but he may actually get to the first round now. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally on the offensive side, talking a little bit about that tight end position. I was interested in seeing how Elijah Arroyo fared, but just saw an update from X. He will not be working out at the combine as he had an injury from the Senior Bowl that he is waiting to get over, but he should be good to go for his pro day. So I guess we'll have to wait till his pro day to see how he measures out. But excited to see how his stuff goes as well. Now on the defensive side, several tackles. Interested in seeing how they go. Walter Nolan, keep an eye on him. Kenneth Grant, even Tyleik Williams, again, Ohio State, and then Alfred Collins from Texas. And then another big name that I think has been creeping up some boards into the early second round is TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Very disruptive tackle for them this season. So great names there from the defensive tackle position to keep an eye out for there during the combine. And then I think probably what most people would say the biggest point of need on edge position. You look at Mikael Williams for Georgia, Mike Green from Marshall. So as much as you're looking for the physical measurements of these guys and how they perform in their drills, I think one of the biggest things for Mike Green actually would be more important is kind of how he interviews and to see if we get any insight into what happened with him at Virginia. Because if you haven't tracked like the backstory on him, he went to Virginia in 2021 as a freshman. He was a reserve, so he wasn't a starter. He was backup. Played a few games here. I think it was like 5 or 6 games. He came in as a backup. He did record a sack. Then his next year, he redshirted for a year, and then by the end of the year, had left UVA to go to Marshall. So seeing a player go to power school like Virginia, Power 5 school like Virginia, and I don't know if he just didn't make it. I don't know if there was a conflict with the coach or just like a conflict in how he was being utilized, and he wasn't comfortable with what they were asking him to do or how they were coaching him, and so he was trying to find a fair place. But then to drop down a tier and attend Marshall and then kind of break out there, even his first 2 seasons were good, not great. And then have his blow-up season this last season, this past year. That's where I pause. Now, you watch the guy and you see him play. You see what he did in the Senior Bowl. And yeah, there's a lot there to like. Got a lot of good physical attributes. Had a tremendous motor, full speed all the time. Sometimes that gets him in trouble. Saw several plays where he would almost like just zip right past the running back after the ball had been handed off en route to the quarterback, because my opinion, it just looked like he was looking for that big play to get to the quarterback instead of actually watching to see how the play would develop and see where he needed to go. So, but outside of that, really good film on just a high-end, high motor, high intensity type of player. So that looked all well and fine at Marshall with a different level of competition than what UVA was facing, and even just in the ACC, which honestly is not the highest end of the football competition, but still a tier above playing with Marshall. So, and then another one, an edge that I'm interested in, Donovan Ruku. Probably just tore that up for Boston College. I'm interested to see how he does. I know he's a little bit smaller guy. He can kind of get swallowed up sometimes, but he has got incredible explosiveness. He's got really good pass rush set. So would be really interested in seeing him at the combine. Outside of that, couple more notes like from Newton on ESPN talking about what the Panthers can do in the offseason to start filling in their needs. He's said no big splashes are likely in free agency. I think for long-suffering Panthers fans, that's probably the last thing we want to hear. I think we're kind of getting tired of the situation where we aim for middle-tier, mid-level type of receivers, but that's exactly who Newton sees this team going after. It also talks about the fact that it doesn't see Panthers having that much money to spend. I think that's I don't know how true that is. Some of the stuff I've seen, they're not in a great cap situation. Like I think Washington might have like 125 million, I think, coming in, but I know they're not in cap hell like the Saints either. So I think they've got the money to spend. I think they can rework some contracts. I think they can set things up that if they need to spend money, they can spend money. And then it also talks about how some of the higher end talent, I think of guys like Myles Garrett, if Cleveland decides to trade, or even T. Higgins, if he actually hits free agency, will likely be looking for a contender. And he says that the Panthers are a few years from that. I don't think they're a few years from contending. I think with the right couple of signings in free agency and a couple good hits in this along the defensive line with this draft, I think maybe even the wide receiver, a good wide receiver, I think they could have be in contention definitely for a playoff spot this year. And by next year, the season after 2026, Carolina had better be on their way to the playoffs in 2026. It shouldn't be a few years. It should be 1, maybe 2 years before they start making a playoff push. And I think when you start talking about that kind of timeline, I think that either one of those guys should be interested in a tenure here with the Panthers. So that's all I got. Probably went way longer on that than I should have, but it's also something that I am very much involved in, love to talk about. So let's move on now to a little bit of hurricane action. Coming back from off the Four Nations. If you want to know everything that happened with the Four Nations face-off, make sure you tune into the neutral zone to find out more about that. But neutral zone right here on IE Sports Radio to find out more about how that went. But now that that's done, we're back to some NHL. Carolina, unfortunately, not opening up in the strongest fashion, going down 3-6 to Toronto. Toronto got up fast and got up early, scoring 4 goals in the first period. Which, you think, all right, yes, obviously they were done for. But Carolina stuck with it. They actually played harder, I think, through the second and third periods, and ended up getting 3 goals in the third to cut it to a 1-goal lead. And that final final 2 scores there for Toronto were empty net goals. So Carolina cut it down to 1, tried to get that equalizer by going empty net. unfortunately, it didn't work for them. They gave up the first empty net goal, and that kind of locked them into sticking with the empty net just to try to get back to within striking distance again, and gave up another goal. So, well, it looks pretty terrible, 6-3. I think terrible first period is what really led to this game being what appeared to be a blowout. If they had played, with the same intensity for the full 3 periods, you probably would have been talking about a different score. Being able to rally 3 goals in the third period to bring it to within one, that's a pretty incredible feat. It's just unfortunate for them that fell short there with the empty net situation. So moving on from the Hurricanes, we'll talk a little bit more about, or start talking about the Charlotte Hornets. We'll bring them up here. There you go. All right. So this one actually was a full-on blowout. So Charlotte Hornets go to play Portland Trailblazers, continuing their West Coast trip. I think they previously had played the Lakers, had a win there, but then went into the All-Star break on a 2-game losing streak. Come out, kind of picked up with that same thing, but this one was absolute abject disaster. Going down 88-141 to Portland. This ties for their largest margin of defeat. And really just not a great game all around. Some good play, I think, from Miles Bridges it was. And then, let's see here, who else? That wasn't all terrible, but unfortunately, LaMelo Ball only 5 points on 1 of 10 shooting. Miles Bridges, 17 points for him. Nick Smith, 14 points. Nope, had 11 points, 8 rebounds coming off the bench. So hopefully we might see some more of him going down the stretch coming in. But not a great game to open up after the All-Star break for them. So hopefully they can, I think they got one more now. Yep, against the Sacramento Kings. That will be tonight at 10 p.m. Gotta love the West Coast timing. But we'll see them play Sacramento. Hopefully a little bit better of an outcome there, a little bit more competition going on, and we'll see how that one goes there. All right, next up, we've got, as promised, time for some Charlotte FC to kick in. So if you follow the social media, Charlotte FC taking the Fortress. I don't know if maybe I'll change this instead of Charlotte FC to the Fortress to Seattle. Slow start for these guys as well, similar to the Hurricanes. They got a little bit sluggish. I only had 1 shot on goal for the whole game, but they did get the 2 goals. They did end up with draw. 2-2 draw against Seattle, with that second goal coming in second half stoppage time on the Seattle own goal. Great push and drive off of a steal. Let's see. Sorry. All right, yeah, there it is. So Toklo Madi steals a pass along the right sideline, drives it down, tries to get a crossover into the middle, and then off a Sounders foot. Ymir Gomez Andrade, and it went right off his foot, right between the goaltender's legs. Unfortunate for Seattle, great for Charlotte because it salvages the game, and they're able to pull 1 point out of it, heading back to the East Coast and back to Charlotte. Of note, Wilfred Zaha, former Premier League player that we brought over. Missed this game as he was back in the UK for the birth of his child. So congratulations to him. Very happy to see that for him, and wish him the best, and looking forward to seeing him when, as soon as he can, but take time with his family. But hopefully he can get back here pretty soon, and we can really get him plugged into the offense here, get this offense kind of kick started and up and running. So that we're not getting down early and having to Charlotte's having to fight back into it and concede with just a draw. Would definitely like to see that come out more in our favor. Their next game will be on the 1st. First is Atlanta in Charlotte. So if you guys are in Charlotte, make sure you look it up. Try to find you some tickets and get out there to cheer them on. I think it's going to be another good season for them, returning a lot of the players and signing some good strikers and forwards to support that offense and beef it up a little bit. All right, let's take a quick break at this point to hear about some other shows. And then when we get back, we will start to dive into college sports.
What's the fever on the head?
Hey, yo, what's good, Georgia? It's your boy ACS, and if you love sports from the Peach State as much as I do, then Georgia Sports Central is your one-stop destination for down south sports, courtesy of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you a yellow jacket at heart, or do you bleed the red and black of the Bulldogs? Do you keep it true to Atlanta with Trae Young, Capella, and the boys? Do you rise up with the Dirty Birds on Sundays? Are you excited to see what the future holds for Michael Penix Jr., Bijan, and the rest of the Falcon squad? Do you live at 755 Battery Avenue? Do you rep for Albies, Acuna, and the rest of Braves country? If so, then let's get united every Wednesday for some Braves, Hawks, UGA, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Dream, Falcons, and more on Georgia Sports Central, only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernan.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
All right, welcome back, and it is time to get into some college sports. Kicking off, as always, with my Tar Heels here, who are now the winners of, 4 straight, I think it is. After that embarrassing loss to Clemson, maybe only three straight after losing to Clemson, all by relatively convincing fashion, some more than others. But the latest being an 81-66 victory over University of Virginia, where Ian Jackson and Jalen Withers once again led the scoring there. UNC opened up the game with a 21-2 run. From there, it was pretty well even, I think, through most of the first half there. And then in the second half, UNC kind of kept it at about 10 to 15 point margin through most of the game. Had it well in control. Withers, again, with some great scoring. He was 4 of 6 on 3-pointers. Jackson added in another 3 3-pointers. And UNC, this is what we've talked about, I think, through this season. What I've mentioned before, how we're going to see this team, I think, yo-yo back and forth, where when the shots are falling, I think we're going to see, these kind of 15-point victories. And tonight, the shots are falling 48% field goal percentage, 56% from the 3. But something that we haven't seen as much of, a decided rebound advantage, 35-21. UNC really getting after boards there. I've talked about that as well, how they really just have not been the same kind of rebounding team as they have in the past. So to see that is really good. And then prior to that, the big game for a lot of us, NC State and 97-73 blowout at a snowed-in Dean Dome. What a great time to go to the Dean Dome. When I was a freshman in 2000, we had a snowstorm come through in February. One of the largest North Carolina had seen at the time. I think we got upwards of 2 feet of snow from that storm. But Maryland, we were playing Maryland, and Maryland had already made it to the campus. So rather than cancel the game, they decided to hold the game anyway. And much like they did at this NC State game, they opened up the lower level to any students with a student ID. You could go in, you could sit anywhere in the Dean Dome. So, of course, everybody aimed for the lower level. Now, if someone did brave it and made it to the Dean Dome and had tickets for the seats you were in, you gave up your seat and let them have their seat back since they were the actual ticket holder. But that did not happen very much. We did get down in that game. I think we were down by double digits at one point, 10 or 12 points. But second half really started making a comeback, really got the student section going. It was when I say ear splitting loud, my ears were ringing. My ears were ringing after that game. It was so loud in that place. I've also been in the Dean Dome when it was full of the normal fans, normal ticket holders, and been in what should have been better games than that game, and it was relatively quiet, to be honest. So that game, Maryland, great comeback for the Tar Heels on that one. Students were loud, cheering the team on. The players were digging it. They were really behind it, and came out after a game. And that's when you really saw a push even from the players to get more students down in the lower level. You see it now. There's a whole section behind the goals, one of the baskets for that's just student risers. Those weren't there when I first got there as a freshman, but they were there the next season. They started making more and more room for students in the lower level. It's helped out a lot, but there's nothing quite like a game where you can really pack in students into the lower level who can then just get loud and crazy. And this was another game where students were loud and crazy as UNC just took it to NC State. RJ Davis threw in 21 points. Again, we go back to when the buckets are falling, when their shots are dropping for this team, given the lineups that they have, 57% field goal, 40% from the 3. You're going to see these kind of blowout games. Now, as you start playing a team with either better defense or, just a night where, you just can't buy a bucket, that's when you're going to start to see these crazy losses too against the likes of Clemson or the weird one at Pitt earlier this season. So, but then again, this game was another one where UNC held a rebounding advantage 40-21. So a lot more intensity, a lot more focus, a lot more aggressive on the rebounding side. And, you put that together, you get the shots to start dropping, and you've got a team that looks like it might be waking up. It might be a little too late. They might have overslept for an opportunity to get into the dance and go to the tournament, but we'll see. They still got a few games left. Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech still on the docket. If they continue to bring this kind of energy, they continue to play at this level, those should all be W's, not just winnable games, but those are winnable games. And with this kind of play, they should get wins out of that, which will set them up for their final game at Duke. Number 2 Duke now. At Duke, at Duke at Carolina on the 8th of March. So going to be an exciting couple of weeks here for UNC, nerve-wracking too, and then see how they do. And I think even with a victory over Duke, but definitely if they pick up the next 3 and lose to Duke, they're still going to need a very strong run in the ACC tournament. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Instead, let's go ahead and start talking about Duke and see how the Blue Devils have been doing. Not spoiler alert, they've been killing it. So the Blue Devils continue to do what they do, but do it better than they've been doing it. They absolutely decimate. I think the NC State was a blowout. Duke actually absolutely decimates Illinois 110-67. And I know there it says number 3 Duke. They have gone up in the poll. Put this together earlier. They are now number 2 Duke. So come on. There we go. Now number 2 Duke. So they continue to do all the right things, pushing all the right buttons. Their next game, let's see. Prior to that, too, they had beaten UVA 80-62. Their next game will be at the Miami Hurricanes tomorrow night at 7 p.m. That'll be down here-ish in Miami. For those who don't know, I actually live in Tampa. So the Blue Devils will be traveling down here to the Sunshine State to play Miami Hurricanes. Probably a slightly bigger storyline than the actual game itself is that the associate head coach, Jai Lucas, for Duke is starting to come into focus for Miami's search for their new head basketball coach. So he was previously with Texas from 2016 to 2020, and then with Kentucky 2020 to 2022. Came into Duke back in 23. Has been with them for a couple of seasons now, and is widely considered to be one of the top candidates for a head coaching position anywhere, really. But it looks like Miami might be zeroing in on him. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if he ends up moving on from Duke for the Hurricanes. Next up, I'll talk a little bit about the Wolfpack. I know we just got done talking a bit about the blowout against Carolina, but NC State followed that up with a revenge game against Wake Forest, taking Wake Forest down 85-73. Crazy game there. Freshman Paul McNeil gets his first start and scores 24 points. Maybe he should be starting more often. This upset it might end up being, and we'll again talk about it later, it might end up being a little bit of a nail in the coffin for Wake Forest's tournament hopes. But NC State in this game, they jumped out to an 11-0 lead. Wake Forest closed it back in, kept it tight, really back and forth through the end of the first half and into the second half, even leading at one point in the second half. see. Do we know when that was? I think it was at the 8:32 mark. Yep. They led by 4 with 8:23 left in the second half. And then NC State went on an 18-2 run with about 8 minutes remaining and put the game away. So their next game now will be against the Syracuse Orange on the 26th, and that'll be starting at 7 p.m. So Wolfpack, back and forth for them. Had a streak there, several losses in a row. I think it was like 6, and then have picked up a win. Thank you. There we go. I picked up a win against Boston College and dropped the game to North Carolina, and good to see them get back in the win column against Wake Forest. All right. Speaking of Wake Forest. Things not looking great for them as it goes. They now like I said, just dropped that game to NC State. They likely now looking at missing the NCAA tournament. Their next game will be against UVA. Should be a winnable game. They've been a really hard team to judge this season with some key wins. UNC beat UNC, beat SMU, who's also sitting there on the bubble. Good wins against Syracuse, a previously beaten NC State. You almost got to wonder if maybe that previous win is what kind of cost them here. Thought they had this one. Thought they'd be able to get away with this one after seeing State come off that loss to UNC. So down the stretch here, again, Virginia, Notre Dame, and they've got Duke and Georgia Tech as their last 4 games. So it'll be kind of a tough road there. Notre Dame and Georgia Tech sitting there in the middle of the pack. Will be difficult teams to get by without really focusing. And of course, that game at Duke is going to be incredibly difficult for them on March 3rd. But with some luck, maybe they can get a couple wins, get themselves back up in the standings a little bit, get some beef added to their resume, and maybe make it into the tournament on a last-minute thing. All right, let's shift states now. Let's move over to Clemson, who also maybe not quite to the same level, but very much like Duke have been storming through the ACC. They knocked off. Let's see, make sure they actually got that right. They knock off SMU and 79-69. That puts them at 4 straight wins. I think they've also got something like they're like 6-0 on the road. One of the they are now up. They have jumped from 18. Man, this is what I get for working ahead. I never do stuff ahead of time. I almost always wait till the last minute. This I usually like to try to do ahead of time. And now this happens where Clemson jumps from 18 to 13. Great jump up the polls for them. Their next game will be against Notre Dame. That should be a winnable game. They follow the end of their schedule up against Virginia, at Boston College, and then they host Virginia Tech. So looking like a great way to finish out the season. As long as they could stay focused and finish strong, should see them with the best record for their program. They're currently tied for a program record in conference wins. So best conference record their programs had should be right around the corner after they play Notre Dame here on the 26th at 7 p.m. All right, let's finally get to our SEC team, South Carolina, who finally, after months and months now, have finally broken through the SEC gamut with a win against Texas, a convincing win at that. This wasn't, a last-second buzzer beater. This wasn't, a tight one. South Carolina got out and got up early in this one. Pulling away. It was tight through the first few minutes. Tied almost 6-5 early on through the first 5 minutes, and then South Carolina started to pull away and put Texas away. Fairly easy for a 15-point win. This is their first conference win, as I said, of the season. Colin Murray bowls with 22 points, 10 rebounds for a double-double. South Carolina, like I said, blowout win, led by as much as 22 points in this game. Double digits pretty much the whole way, never really looked back. And it was good to see them finally get that win. Now they got follow up at number 15, Missouri. That's probably changed to West Missouri at now 14. All right, so we're not too far off. We'll be playing number 14, Missouri, on the 25th at 9 p.m. Should be a good game there. And who knows? Maybe if South Carolina brings maybe they'll be energized, be charged up from this game, be able to bring some of that with them and compete. We've seen them compete against some very good teams this season and just not be able to get it in the end. And so hopefully this game really helps them out, helps them kind of get over that hump, and they can have a good game there against Missouri. All right, let's talk a little bit of bracketology for our teams. Let's see, where'd you go? Oh, there we go. So we've talked about this before, but Duke, Clemson, and Louisville now all look to be locks to make it into the tournament. I think we talked before. Duke in one of the sneak peeks at the bracket is looking at number one at one of the one seeds. At the time, it was number 4 seed. Now I imagine they're probably looking to get a number 2 or number 3 seed in this tournament. Clemson shouldn't be too far behind, but probably like a 4 seed or something like that. And then Louisville looking to get in there as well. On the bubble are Wake Forest and UNC, as we previously discussed. ESPN kind of has them hovering somewhere in the high 40s for Wake Forest. UNC, a lot of work to do for them, low 30s. So they're not out of it yet, but it is definitely going to be a challenge for them to get in. Like I said, they're going to have to win out these next 3 games for sure. Playing Duke, even at Carolina, is going to be a tough game. If they can get the win, that will definitely increase their chances. These last 3 games with the margin of victory have helped them out a lot. But they're still, against these kind of weaker ranked teams. So it's going to take either a win against Duke and or a nice run into the ACC tournament to really make this happen for UNC. So like I said, they're not out of it, but it's going to take a whole heck of a lot of work for them to make it. All right, I'm not quite done yet. So we'll go to 2 more drops for shows. And then when we get back, we'll cover a little bit of college baseball and hopefully some NCAA women's basketball as well. Just kind of run through some scores and updates.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 49ers, Giants, Warriors, then check out the NorCal Sports Report with yours truly, Andre Fernandez, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We have guests every single week talking 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Sharks, San Jose Earthquakes, and a whole lot more, plus 3C2A. You do not want to miss this show. So tune in Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Last segment here. Let's just do a quick roundup. I think as we progress with this, we get a little bit deeper into the baseball season, start leaving the basketball season behind. I will dive into these games a little bit more, try to pull out some stats, start highlighting some players, things like that. You know, kind of what we do with the sports we've been doing so far. But we'll do it with some baseball as well. So a lot of good stuff. A lot of games going on over this last week. Kick it off with UNC improving from number 6 to number 5. So see those. I got those done up correct. But UNC moves up to number 5 after improving to 6-0. They defeat Kansas State 12-9. And then 2 games against ECU. They win 2-0. That was in the Durham Ballpark, home in Durham Bowls, and then 11-6 as well at the Bosch there in Chapel Hill. Unfortunately, number 12 NC State dropped 4 games this last week, which drops them out of the rankings. They lose to Ohio State 3-8, Alabama 0-4. Coastal Carolina 3-10. So not a great series of games for them. Hopefully we can see them bounce back and work their way back into the top 25 here in over the next couple of weeks. All right. Wake Forest, though, improved. They go from number 13 to number 12, taking over that spot from NC State as they move to 7-1. They had 1 loss during the stretch. That was to UNC Greensboro 0-4, but some good wins against St. John's 7-0, 11-0, and 9-6. So some strong wins there for Wake Forest. Sees them climb up the rankings a little bit. And then Clemson also moves up a spot from number 14 to number 13 in the top 25. They as they go to 6-1. They defeated New England 3-0 stretch this last week, defeating VCU 4-3. North Carolina A&T they beat twice, 12-7 and 4-2. So Good moves there for them. Duke holds steady at number 17. So after they had that slow start we talked about last time, they go 3-1. They beat UNC Wilmington, who I think we had mentioned last time had beaten Georgia. Gave Georgia their only loss. Yep, Georgia's sitting at number 6 now. Gave them their only loss. Duke beats them 8-4. They did lose to Cornell 8-11, but then bounced back. Took the next 2 games 16-2, 18-1. So I think the lesson we learned here is don't beat Duke in baseball. All right, and then finally, South Carolina continues their tear. Not ranked yet, but sitting at 8-0. They beat Winthrop 5-3. Queens University 7-2, Milwaukee 5-2, 6-3, and 14-4. So they played the most out of anybody, getting in with it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games over this last week. Now sitting at 8-0. So hopefully we start to see them. Maybe it's a little competition. I don't know exactly, but hopefully they can get some more. Some better competition and get a couple more W's there and get themselves into the rankings as well. All right, let's wrap it up real quick. I want to talk women's basketball too. Spent too much of this season not getting around to talking women's basketball, especially given how well our local teams are playing. So number 9, UNC had a rally to beat Louisville 79-75. They were down by double digits at one point in the first half. I think 12 points total, 12 or 15 points, but came back in the third, fourth quarter and then down the stretch. I think they went 6-0 down the stretch to take a 4-point lead and get the win there. That puts them on a 7-game win streak, including prior to that a 68-58 win over Syracuse. This is, however, their second straight game without Alyssa Utsby. There we go. Should move that S&T. Anyway, one of their leading rebounders and scorers there. So good to see Carolina reserves coming off the bench to get in their time, get in the points, and keep this team moving in the right direction. Their next match will be at number 11 Duke, so that will be a serious challenge there. Number 6 South Carolina defeated Vanderbilt 82-54, and Duke also beat Syracuse 80-49. Good win there. And then number 13 NC State with a big upset over number 1 Notre Dame. And double overtime, 104-95. NC State with a great overtime scoring there. So all around, like I said, a lot of strong local teams here, all representing in the top 15 there, and looking forward to seeing how they close out the season as they start getting ready for their tournaments as well. All right, you guys. Let's see. I think I didn't even do that. That's going to wrap it up for me here. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and be sure to once again check out Man, my internet is all jacked up. If you want to contribute to the show, if you want to give me some ideas or a little bit of support to get some memorabilia up here on the wall, I would greatly appreciate it. And you can see that stuff show up here on the next time out. So you all be sure to come back and join me again next week.